Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And on this edition, we're going to be giving our final thoughts on the Saints Week 10 game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we're going to be talking about where can the Saints go from here. Shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. Shouts out to everybody listening, whether you're at work, on the go, at the gym, wherever you are, wherever you may be. Thank you so much for allowing the State of the Saints podcast to be a part of your listening pleasure. We've had a full 24 hours. As of right now, I'm making this video like almost around 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So it's been 24 hours since the Saints kicked off. And I think a lot of people had time to kind of decompressed a little bit about, what this team is and, looking at this team and letting the reality slap you right in the face, letting us know exactly what this team is. And that is a very bad football team. The New Orleans Saints are not very good. Even some of the players like Tyrann Mathieu even admitted that. But it just seems to me like you just got to ask yourself, where can we go from here? This is very uncharted territories that we're in right now, as far as where this team is. A lot of you probably never experienced this. And if you did, you're probably too young to even, realize when it happened, right? A lot of you are probably in your early to mid 20s. And the only thing that you really remember is prosperity when it comes from the New Orleans Saints. That's why, if you look at the thumbnail, it says the Saints reached a new low. It's not a new low for me. I mean, I've seen worse, but in other cases, it might be a new low for some. Regardless of where you stand, rather you are, came in around the Breeze era, have you seen, the Billy Joes, the Jim Everetts, and, the Heath Schulers, no matter where you stand, you have to admit this thing going on in New Orleans isn't working. And it starts with head coach Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen is a terrible head coach. I don't know him personally. I don't think he's a terrible human being. I'm just saying from a coaching standpoint, leading men on a day-to-day basis, leading these guys out there on the field, he is not the answer. I think people are just wasting their time. And it's just amazing to me how you still have some people out there trying to defend this guy. I mean, honestly, you don't have a leg to stand on. I mean, obviously, at this particular time, the only reason why you're saying this is because you're seeing everybody else kind of going towards wanting to get him up out the door, and you want to stand alone. So maybe you can get some likes or some clicks, and maybe somebody will pay attention to you and what the heck you got to say. But people that's actually living in the world right now on planet Earth know that Dennis Allen sucks and he's not good. And as long as you continue to go down this rabbit hole, you're going to continue to find the same results. Some people will talk about the injuries. Well, I would tell you last year, the Saints had 57 different variations of a starting lineup, and they still were one game out from making the playoffs. This team is 3-7 right now, and they haven't been in this position since 2005. That was during the time when Hurricane Katrina hit. So in ways, I can kind of understand why the Saints were that terrible in 2005. I think at that particular time, people were worried about where they were going to lay their head at night versus actually watching a football game. So I can actually understand why they were terrible. But what I don't understand is when a team basically gives you the keys to the kingdom. When they give you an opportunity to rewrite the narrative, a narrative that says that you're not competent enough to lead men. When you were in Oakland, they were willing to absolve you of that and allow you to come to a better organization with better players and give you better opportunity to rewrite the narrative of yourself as a head coach. And he hasn't done that. Now, it would be one thing if the New Orleans Saints had these injuries. I think a couple weeks ago, he was talking about, getting some players back, right? He said, when we get some players back, maybe we'll get some wins. It'll be one thing if the Saints had these injuries and they were just out there, they were fighting and battling. Like some of these other games that we seen, like they were short-handed and they went up against the NFL's best or the average teams, and they went toe-to-toe with those guys and they came out with a win. Heck, they even came out with a loss. What we would say is on social media or on shows like this, man, I'm proud of my team, the way that they fought, the way that they battled today. They were short-handed, but I respect the fight. They are getting out-coached by every single coach on the sidelines. And the sad thing about this is Dennis Allen's defense, and I'm saying Dennis Allen's defense because he told me during a press conference when he was hired as a head coach, he said, that's my baby and it's going to be hard for me to give up, right? So Dennis Allen's defense went up against Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the same Matt Canada that got fired by Coach Ed Orgeron, one of the nicest individuals in the world, right? The guy who has the patience of Job, and he fired Matt Canada. And this is the guy. This is the dude that outcoached you. Last week versus the Baltimore Ravens, they basically played that game with no wide receivers, and you still were outcoached. He is in over his head, and it's just a waste of time. And I'm not in the department of trying to blow anybody's spot, but I think if Dennis Allen survives Black Monday, I think that we need to take a stand as Saints fans. Like I'm dead serious. Like I think we need to take a stand as Saints fans, because when you go from winning NFC South titles, winning Super Bowls, winning games, getting top seeds, and then you go from that to basically living in a pig pen, nobody wants to accept that. I don't want to accept that. There's actually a petition out right now to get Dennis Allen fired. And as I speak right now, it's almost got like close to 700 people that signed it. So people really want change in New Orleans. And if the New Orleans Saints double down on the foolishness, double down on this coaching hire, they are going to completely turn the New Orleans Saints fans off, and people are not going to go to these games. I'm pretty sure people are probably thinking to themselves, season ticket holders right now, do I want to see the New Orleans Saints versus the Los Angeles Rams this coming week? I know I don't. I mean, if I had tickets to the game, I wouldn't want to go. And then you have Dennis Allen and Andy Dalton. Look, these guys know these players much more than we do. I will concede to that. They know the ins and outs of these players. They know the work ethic. We only see the product on Sunday. So I was willing to give you an opportunity. Hey, you seen something? I can kind of understand it from an analytical standpoint. But what in the world do you see in Andy Dalton at this particular point that gives you any type of just feelings that he should be starting going into the game on Sunday? But I have no problem with that. Yeah, that's right, Who Dat Nation. I have no problem with that because I already know what the outcome is going to be. And we all know what this is. Dennis Allen is not a good head coach. So anything that could continue to add fuel to the engulfing flames that is the hot seat of Dennis Allen, I'm all for it. Because this guy, to me, he coaches scared. His decisions are basically that of a desperate man. You know what I'm saying? He basically coaches this team like I ain't got, you know what I'm saying? I spent all my money in Vegas. I ain't got no way to get back home. You know, like that's kind of how he coaches the team. Pure desperation. And we're supposed to be okay with this. So any decision that he makes is pretty desperate, right? He doesn't even allow the running game to develop. He doesn't even allow a guy to kind of get into the rhythm, right? He does that on the field. So he does it with his decisions as well. He's seen, you know, the offense looking kind of, kind of iffy. And then all of a sudden here comes Andy Dalton when, you know what I'm saying, you basically kind of just go into it and nobody really knows what you're capable of in this offense. And he goes out there and he plays pretty well. But as you can see, the NFL has a way of catching up with you a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden now teams are trying to realize what you're actually doing. And now they're neutralizing that. And if you have a quarterback that's a one-trick pony, he's not going to be able to give you anything, right? So if you go ahead and neutralize Alvin Kamara, which teams have done for the last 2 weeks, what is Andy Dalton going to do? I mean, you know he's not going to win you the game. So the Saints offense, the league has caught up with him. And it's going to be like that, again. And as bad as the Los Angeles Rams look right now, I mean, do you feel confident? Do you feel confident that the Saints can beat the Rams? Looking at that offensive line, you're going up against arguably the greatest defensive player of this generation. And you expect for, Andrews and, and Kelvin Throckmorton to line up against arguably the greatest defensive player of this generation. Like, this has got to be some type of joke here. It's like, I find that hilarious. But like I said, they can continue to go down this rabbit hole or continue to double down on the foolishness. They can have their ego big as Alaska and Texas combined, and they're going to find themselves, in a stadium with no people in it. Because who is going to be wasting their money and their time on a team that is a lost cause? Because y'all want to feel as if y'all made the right decision. Like the chickens have come home to roost. People were willing to get behind this whole Dennis Allen, keeping him around so we can keep the nucleus of a Sean Payton's organization or Sean Payton's staff intact. But as we can see now, it's over. It's over. And how do you get away from this? Well, you find a young quarterback, or if you want to roll with Jameis, going forward, since he has a 2-year deal, you find yourself a coach that can be able to reel him in. That is one of the main reasons I continue, and I will continue until he finds another job. I will continue to lobby for Frank Reich. Frank Reich has a history of getting the best out of these quarterbacks. He got the best out of Carson Wentz. He got the best out of Nick Foles. I mean, he is a guy who can really help these quarterbacks see the field, and he got unjustifiably fired by the Indianapolis Colts. The dude is a really good coach. He's been to the playoffs. He has a good win-loss record. And all he needs is an owner that can stay the heck out of the way like Gail Benson does and allow him to do his job. But, of course, if you pay attention to what people are actually saying and, not really going into details and looking at it yourself, you'll probably think that Frank Reich is not the answer. But to me, he is. And if you're not going to get a guy like Frank Reich, you need to get a guy who has that type of mind frame. A guy that's going to be able to help a quarterback, a young quarterback, or a quarterback reach his full potential and also be able to be innovative on the offensive side of the ball. I know a lot of people, I see people in the chat talking about Brian Flores, but I'm kind of over this. I'm kind of over this defensive side of the football type coach. I just feel like the NFL is changing. I feel like the NFL, the way that things are, the way the rules are constructed, you need offensive innovation in order for you to be able to win these football games. You need somebody that's going to be able to draw plays and also make adjustments in the second half in order to help your team get over the hump. So that's the way I'm looking at it. That's what you need. That's what you need. So I think that the Saints should, I'm saying when. When they fire Dennis Allen, they need to go offense. Robert Carter, thank you very much for the 199, says the body language of the player says it all, TJ. I think I just think it's this overall, like, the worst thing that a player feels is the worst feeling in the world is that you most likely are going to lose a football game. And I think a lot of these guys have not been in this position. Like if you're a Lattimore, or you're Alvin Kamara, you know what I'm saying, or you're Ryan Ramczyk, like even like some of these other guys, Eric McCoy, like if you're like one of these, like you don't really know that much about losing, missing the playoffs. Like you don't know anything about that. Like your entire career, your team has been good. I mean, you've been in an NFC championship game. You've been close to the NFC championship game. You've been to the playoffs. You've been in do-or-die situations on countless occasions. You've been one of the top seeds. You've been a class of the division. And then all of a sudden, like now, it's like, man, look where we at now. I'm being realistic. LOL, watch we win Sunday the way this season is going. No matter how bad the Saints playing, glad I can tap into the podcast. I appreciate that. Win, lose, or draw, we going to be here. Start Taysom Hill. It's the only way. Jameis Winston injured. Oh, man, look, this may sound crazy, but you might as well. Like, you might as well. Like, whatever you can possibly do it. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if starting Jameis will work. I don't know if starting Taysom will work, but do something. Do something that's different. Do something that, I mean, you've been coaching desperate all season long. Now you really, truly are desperate. You might as well, do whatever you have to do, in order to win some football games, because you're not going to make the playoffs. And the only thing that you're basically fighting for now is to not look extremely stupid at the end of the season for giving your top pick away to the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Saints have given the Philadelphia Eagles the third pick in the draft based on their record right now. Say, TJ, I'm done. I'm not buying no tickets, no gear, no nothing until they fire DA. We're not going to be like no Panthers. Oh, man. Look, I don't blame you. I don't blame you, man. I think there's a lot of people out there boycotting right now. There's a lot of people out here that's talking about they're not going to, buy anything from, New Orleans Saints. You got some people out here saying they ain't going to no more games until this dude is gone. And, I hope that the Saints are actually listening to that. Because, I mean, look, we're a fan base, man. We're willing to give you an opportunity. We're willing to give you a chance. But when we see that it doesn't work, and basically, like a lot of people feel like they were lied to. They feel like they were lied to. And it's not a good feeling. Rams might not have Kupp or Stafford, and we still will lose. Well, they still got Allen Robinson on that team. So, and they still got Cam Akers, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be motivated because, even though he's from Mississippi, from Clinton, Mississippi, which is probably like about maybe, 2.5 hours, 3.5 hours, you know what I'm saying? Something like that, 3.5 hours away from New Orleans. So, you're going to have a lot of people that's riding down I-20, you know what I'm saying, to go to that game. Well, I-10. There's I-10 by 10. Even if we were fully healthy, we would still lose because DA can't coach. We should have won most of the games we lost. We were better on paper. Yeah, even that game that you started in week 1, the Saints should honestly be 2-8. Like they basically had to like scratch, bite, and claw their way to victory against the Atlanta Falcons. Right? So, like technically, the Saints should be 2-8. The dude is just not a good coach, man. Look, I hear people talking about, he needs to go. We need to fire him today. Nah, let him finish out the season. Let him finish the season. People talking about, I seen people, and shouts out to him, man. I see a lot of, people, podcasters out here talking about, well, don't fire him in the middle of the season. It's going to make your team look bad. No, it won't. I mean, the Saints have been one of the most stable organizations for the last 15, 16 years, right? And people like you also have to understand this. People have to understand this. The New Orleans Saints went to the NFC Championship game in 2006, but there was like 3 seasons of them going like 7-9, 8-8, right? And there were thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Like people was talking about, you know, people were willing to like allow Sean Payton. It wasn't maybe until like the 3rd season where people was like, man, well, maybe we caught lightning in a bottle, you know what I'm saying? That first year, nobody expected us to do anything. And in the 3rd season, there was like, you heard a few fans talking about maybe they should go ahead and let go of Sean Payton. You know what I'm saying? Like that was kind of it. But after that 2009 season, that's when they won the Super Bowl. So it's not like people just automatically like just, oh man, he sucks. Like we don't want that no more. No, like people are willing to give you a chance to like get yourself out of the situation. But dang, you got to give us something to work with, right? If I give you a job, right? I tell you, you know, I've hired a few people in my lifetime, you know, being a manager, you know, throughout my young life. And if I give you an opportunity, you telling me, hey, man, you know what? You know, I do anything. You know, I do anything that this job takes. Anything you need me to do, I do it. All right, man. You know what I'm saying? Bet. You know, I'm going to give you an opportunity. All right. First day on the job. You know, like you come in, I ask you to wear a pair of khaki pants and a white shirt, right? You come in there, you know what I'm saying? You wearing black pants and a red shirt. All right, man, this is not the uniform, bro. Oh, I'm my bad, man. I'm sorry. I might let you work that day. You know, I might let you work. Like, go ahead, man. Just make sure that you wear the right uniform. Tomorrow we'll probably keep you in the back. But the next day you coming late. The next day after that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you taking a long lunch break. Like, hold on, man. Hold on. Wait a minute here. Like, what are we doing here? Right? You got to give me something to work with. DA is not giving us anything to work with. You have no choice but to think about what he did out there in Oakland. If it's continuing to look like it did when he was coaching Oakland, he's not giving us nothing to work with. If the Saints, look, let's just say, for example, if the Saints played 10 games. Okay, no, let's just say they play 8 out of 10. And let's just say, for example, the Saints around week 7, they were going into the game, they were 5-1, right? You know what I'm saying? They were like 5-1 and they need to win this game for week 7. But all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, they started having these injuries and they started to lose. But they won 5 out of their last 6. So you can be like, okay, man, look, they're just going through a spell right now. They have a bunch of injuries. But what happens when you struggling in a game where you had Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, and Chris Olave, and you had Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram and Jameis Winston, and you had to scratch and bite and claw your way out of that game. And then a game versus Tampa, you had people on deck and your offense, it really didn't do too much either. And then in the third game in Carolina, you really didn't do anything. And you still had some of your starters out there, the majority in your entire offensive line that you started the season with. So what is the person supposed to do when they seen you being inept as a coach when everybody was there? And then you're even more inept when nobody is, like when you having these injuries. So you can't blame it on the injuries because you wasn't very good when you had everybody here. Like we were like, that's what people don't understand. Like people bringing up all these injuries, but the Saints was not winning games even when Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry was in the lineup. Like they wasn't effective in a game versus Tampa. They wasn't effective in a game versus Carolina like that. So, I mean, you can talk about that, but you can't say that. They were bad. They were bad regardless, man. It really doesn't make any sense. So my thing is, like, you got to give us something to work with. And DA has given this team nothing to work with. Like, as fans, we ain't got nothing to work with. All we can do is just go to look at the whole Oakland situation. The chickens, thank you very much for $2. Says we're here and we're doing some roosting. Yeah, the chickens definitely came home to roost when it comes to the Saints. You guys should hire Frank Reich, Lions Mania. Nah, we good on Frank. Look, you can say you good on Frank, but I've heard this, man. Look, I've heard this too many times. I've heard this too many times before. And, every time, I would have a show and I say, man, the Saints need to get in, maybe do this. Nah, that ain't it. Then it turns around and it'll work. Look, Frank Reich is a good coach. I don't allow television to warp my mind about a coach. I know half of the people like they're saying this probably never seen this dude coach a day in their life. Only thing that they see is ESPN, Fox Sports commentary about him as a coach. And they just automatically just assume, oh, he got fired. So he must not be very good. I guarantee you, like you're not watching Colts games like that. Because if anybody's watching Colts games and really looking at this dude coach, like, come on, man. Like Jonathan Taylor, there was a reason why he had the rushing title. Guess who was actually calling up those offensive plays? You know what I'm saying? Guess who got the last bit of talent out of a guy like a Phillip Rivers that got them boys into the playoffs? Yeah, that was Frank Reich too. So if we're going to continue to like allow television and all that kind of stuff to, warp our minds, or we're not going to do any research on our own, I think we're doing ourselves a complete disservice. But I'm not going to, not Frank. Like, I guarantee you probably never seen this dude coach a day in your life. Because if you did, you wouldn't have this mind frame. This dude is like completely instrumental in that whole Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl championship run. And the Indianapolis Colts have made the playoffs, twice? You know what I'm saying? Twice since he was the head coach. So I'm not willing to, say that this dude ain't it. And honestly, I got more respect for Frank Reich, that he did get fired. Because here's the thing. This dude, every time he'll come up with a decision, Jim Irsay will try to negate that decision, wanting him to do something else. And finally he said, nah, I'm not doing that anymore. He quit. You know what I'm saying? He ain't quit, but you know what I'm saying? He basically stood up for himself. I mean, what's the biggest issue that we have right now? Dennis Allen not really holding himself accountable, really not, no fire, no desire, no passion, no nothing. Now you can give me a guy like that, because that means that he's no nonsense. And if somebody try to come to him with some foolishness, he ain't going to accept it. So yeah, all right. You can say whatever you want about Frank Reich and him not being the answer, but once again, I don't allow television shows to warp my mind. I don't allow split screen debates, change my mind about who is a coach and who not. And I definitely don't take the narrative of somebody else and try to put it into, a chat and not even do my own research and due diligence. If you're doing that, then like might as well just not, find something else to do. They interviewed the enemy because they had to. They had no intentions of hiring him. Maybe he wasn't good enough. You ever thought about that? Like, I don't know. Maybe he isn't what they're looking for. Like maybe he's not. And I say this because here's the thing. Let's just keep it a buck. Let's just say, for example, if the Detroit Lions needed another coach and they wanted to interview Pete Carmichael, would you be confident that Pete Carmichael would be a good coach for the Detroit Lions? I'm just asking a question. Would you say, okay, man, well, if they were to pilfer away Pete Carmichael, would you be like, oh man, we got rid of Pete? No, you probably wouldn't. And why is that? Because now you basically are seeing like, okay, Sean Payton was very instrumental in it. So you don't think that other people not looking at how Andy Reid is arguably one of the greatest coaches of the modern era, and how he's able to call his offense, how he was able to get the best out of McNabb, how he was able to get the best out of Michael Vick, how he got Kevin Cobb paid. And then, and then you got him Alex Smith. You got them boys going to the playoffs with the Kansas City Chiefs until he got Mahomes. You don't think teams are looking at that? Look at this dude's track record. Look at his offensive innovation. Look how many points Philadelphia put up when they had T.O. and McNabb. Look how many points they put up when Michael Vick was there when he won Comeback Player of the Year. Alex Smith. Look how many points Kansas City put up, and it was going to the playoffs with him. And look how many points they're putting up with Patrick Mahomes. So you don't think people are looking at that like, okay, this guy is the coordinator, but how instrumental is he into this really? Like, I know we want to, you know what I'm saying, like hire, you know what I'm saying, the hot shot coach and all that kind of stuff that actually work. And, you know what I'm saying, we seeing offensive innovation and stuff like that. But maybe they interviewed the guy and maybe they just realized he wasn't the fit for him. And maybe the Saints just felt like, and like I said, it felt like the right decision at the time because we all were on board in it. Like, let's make this thing very, very clear. Hindsight is 2020, right? We all were on board. We all, even myself, bought into, man, this team can actually be something special outside of Sean Payton. We all bought into this. Hindsight is 2020. So it's easy for us to say, oh, man, we shouldn't have got Bieniemy now. I mean, we should have got Bieniemy now, but at the time, it sounded like it was the best idea in the world. I'm just saying, how many coaches do you feel like, how many teams do you feel like Eric Bieniemy has interviewed for? Like, this isn't the first team that Eric Bieniemy has been interviewed for. But a lot of people may be thinking, how instrumental is Andy Reid to the play calling of the Kansas City Chiefs? I find it hard to believe this team and roster is this bad. It really feels like this team was sabotaged inwardly. Only big change was the head coach. Trying to block this spam here. Take me over DA. I would. TJ, thank you very much for the $4.99. Yeah, I think there's something definitely inside this organization. But Dennis Allen has really, we have to all admit, he has done a terrible job. he has done a terrible job at this. And probably knew about the whole Dolphin situation. Honestly, I feel like from the jump, this was a complete plan to sabotage everything. And I can't help but feel that way because of how things went. You know what? I said this before, and I was talking to my mom before I actually did this show. And I mentioned this before. I said, if you're into conspiracy theories, like the biggest conspiracy theory that you can think of is, what if Sean Payton, suggested Dennis Allen because he knew it most likely it wasn't going to work out. And he wanted to take a year off. And by the time he comes back, things will probably be the way they are right now. People will be ready to get Dennis Allen up out of town. And when he gets another opportunity, the Saints will fire Dennis Allen and he can go be with Sean Payton as his defensive coordinator in Los Angeles or wherever else he goes. And Pete Carmichael, we're all kind of, with him as well. So what if they let him go, right? If you hire a new head coach, I'm pretty sure he's going to want his own staff that includes a new offensive coordinator. And Pete Carmichael really didn't want the position to begin with, right? So what if, cerebrally, Sean Payton orchestrated this because he knew how it was going to pan out. Now, if that, I doubt if that's the case, but if it was, that would be probably the most diabolical and genius plan I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, that would. Does Dennis Allen have a new contract based on being head coach? Yeah, of course he does. Man, he puts you in a different tax bracket. You get different, incentives and stuff like that. Yeah, of course. Need to tear that joint up, though. We got to hire a young, innovative coach and start taking chances on young quarterbacks. The window is done. We're not winning a Super Bowl in the next 3 years. Lob, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't feel like this team is as far as people making it out to be. I just think that the coaching making us feel like we're too, far out than what we actually are. Like, I just think that this team, when it started off, I think if Sean Payton was the head coach of this New Orleans Saints team, the Saints probably would be a 2 or 3 games in first place. Like, first off, the division is bad. And we know that Sean Payton will not have this team looking as slow and bad as they are right now. That's just a fact. So I think it has a lot to do with the fact that, these players may like Dennis Allen, but I don't think they respect him the way they respected Sean Payton. I think there's two different coaching styles. And I just think that the way that these guys are approaching the game with Dennis Allen as the head coach is completely different than what they did with Sean Payton. And also, I just feel like Sean Payton wouldn't allow some of this leeway that some of these players are getting right now that Dennis Allen is giving them, So that's the way I feel about it. But I also feel like if you get the right coach in place and you add some offensive innovation and you get yourself, a good, get away from the whole Sean Payton, Drew Brees thing and basically just have a coach bring in his own style and the way that he actually does things his way, I think that you'll end up winning some football games. And, I think they can be a playoff team. But it all depends on what coach they bring in. Did they fire Dennis Allen yet? They're not firing Dennis Allen. If they fire him, it's going to be at the end of the season. And or there's that okay. And there's another reason. If the team just looks so bad, like let's just say, for example, they play the Rams and they just get blew out like 50-something to 10 or 50-something to 13 or something, like that's when I feel like, a change is going to be made. Should Taysom be the starting quarterback in 2023? No, he should not. No, he shouldn't. No, he should not. I think that you just need to move on and find yourself a quarterback. Look, the league is changing, folks. You know what I'm saying? Like the league is changing. I get it. Taysom Hill has a great skill set, but I just feel like the way that the new wave of quarterbacks that's coming out, they got better arm talent. They got better elusiveness. You know what I'm saying? Escapability. They may not be able to drop that shoulder and run somebody over like Peyton Hillis style or Mike Allstott style like a Taysom Hill, but they'll be able to give you, some of the stuff that Taysom Hill can actually give you. Now Taysom Hill belongs on your team somewhere. I will say that, bringing Taysom Hill on, doing some of the things that Taysom Hill does, I think that he is a great weapon if you know how to scheme him right. But, if you're going to continue to use Taysom Hill like you've been doing, you might as well like allow him to go about his business and give that type of production to somebody else, because you're basically wasting this dude. They basically wasting a year of this guy's life when you can actually have this guy on the field making plays. But no, I just think that you just need to go move on, get yourself the quarterback that you want if it's a new coach, and be able to like come up with some offensive plays to surround that guy. What we need to be looking for is a franchise quarterback. Like enough of this Band-Aid stuff, enough of this patchwork, enough of this caulk and gun type mentality that we have. I don't want any placeholders. Like we don't want to be like the Denver Broncos, the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, like trying to going years and years and years at a time, trying to find Drew Brees' successor. Let's try to find this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like let's try to look for a franchise quarterback, not a bridge quarterback. Not a guy that's just going to come in and give you a little spark and then all of a sudden around this time, like he basically falling by the wayside and we missing the playoffs yet again. But let's get a guy that's going to be up in here and going to give you some consistency year in, year out. Let's try to, find that guy. And I think you can find it in the draft. I mean, I look at this. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Let me pull up the 2023 draft order. If y'all just afford me a few minutes, I'll do that. Because I would like to see, what the draft order actually is, and see what it's looking like. All right, so here we go. All right, the first pick in the draft. All right, who got the first pick? It's the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, they got Davis Mills. Would they want to move on from Davis Mills? I mean, I don't know. Davis Mills is a good quarterback, decent. You know what I'm saying? Get yourself a good offensive coach. Might be able to do something with him. But if not, they can go with a quarterback. Las Vegas, bro, you still got Derek Carr for a couple of years. Still got him kind of sold up for about 2 or 3 years. So I don't think they're going to be getting rid of him next year. So they're not getting a quarterback. Carolina, most likely they'll probably get a quarterback. Philadelphia, who got the Saints pick, they're not getting a quarterback. Jacksonville has their quarterback. Chicago has their quarterback. Denver, got their pick from Seattle. I'm pretty sure they're about to pay Geno Smith. So they don't need a quarterback. Let me see, the Detroit Lions. Like they might, move on from Jared Goff, but Jared Goff has been playing really well. Houston, Texas, once again, they got another pick. So if they pick a quarterback, they won't need one. Pittsburgh don't need one. Detroit, if they get a quarterback, it'll be that earlier pick. Atlanta, they got Desmond Ridder. You got Arizona, they got Kyler Murray. You still got Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay. Washington might end up trying to get themselves a new quarterback. Indianapolis will too. So that's about 4. The Chargers aren't. Cincinnati isn't. Tampa might. So you still got some quarterbacks out there that's going to be able to do some things. If you have teams that need quarterback, okay, if you can't get, for example, if you can't get Hendon Hooker, right? If you can't get him, right? You still got, Grayson McCall. You still got some guys that are out here probably not going to be first round draft picks, might end up, falling to you in the second round. And the way that the Saints are playing right now, that second round pick going to be pretty early. TJ, thank you very much for the 199. Says season was sacrificed for a Sean Payton narrative. Yeah. I hope not. Let me see. Thomas, thank you very much for 499. Says, why offense looks so simple to cover even when we had our players? I don't know. I can't answer that question. I'm going to stroll down a little bit. But yeah, look, there are ways that you can get back into the first round. There are ways you can get back into the first round. Like you have you got the Chargers. Okay. The Chargers are picking at 17 right now. If they were to fire Coach Stanley and hire Sean Payton, and let's just say, for example, they'll give you Derwin James and a first-round draft pick. I'm taking it, right? So you'll be picking at 17. It may not be the top 5 pick, but you can at least get your quarterback of the future if you decide to go quarterback in the first round. And if you don't, like I said, there's some really good second-round quarterbacks, that probably most likely can fall to you. It's still early in the second round. It's not like late in the second round where the Saints are going to be picking. So you still getting like a pretty, top-notch second round pick. Drew Brees was what, 32nd pick overall or something? 33rd pick overall and the first pick in the second round. And look how his career turned out. You look at Jalen Hurts, he was a second round pick. Why go get Carr? I'm sorry, that's a lateral move. Why not just get a rookie quarterback and build up around him? No point in getting stagnant and getting old. Why not just go younger since everything imploding? I agree with that. Like if this was a Sean Payton coach team, then I would say, yeah, you probably get yourself like a Derek Carr, because for some apparent reason, Sean Payton doesn't like rookie quarterbacks. I don't know what it is. I don't know why he doesn't like them, but Garrett Grayson is the only one, is the only quarterback I can remember the Saints drafting the guy out of Colorado State in the 3rd round. But he does not like young quarterbacks. He just does not. And I definitely agree with you. Like if you're getting a new coach, let's try to make it worth their while. Let's like if you're not going to find a guy, maybe sign a guy like Tyler Huntley or get yourself a young quarterback. Tyler Huntley is pretty young too, but get yourself a young quarterback that can grow in the system and work alongside the coach that you actually bring in. Regardless, I just think that the Saints just need to go different at coach, because if you're going to bring in a new quarterback, or if you want to keep Jameis, and see what he has, I still think that you need a guy that's an offensive-minded coach that's a little bit of a quarterback whisperer, so they can develop the quarterback position going forward. The Saints are going to get a vet like how Drew was, same strategy too, win like how Denver did. Yeah, like the thing about this with Denver, Lee, is, look, I understand your point. That's a good one. But Denver had the pieces, both old and young. Von Miller was pretty young when they won that Super Bowl, right? I think he maybe was like in his 3rd or 4th season. Like it was like really early in his career. So you had a young Von Miller. You had a young Derek Wolfe. You had a young secondary, a young Chris Harris Jr. Like you had some young guys out there. You had Tracy, not Tracy Porter. Was Tracy Porter on the team? No, he wasn't. He came after that. But you had a bunch of young guys on the team, and with a combination you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, that team was pretty young. It was young players, and then all you needed was a guy that can play quarterback because they had a lights out defense. So you had a bunch of guys on the team, you know what I'm saying, that was pretty much in win now mode. The problem is with the New Orleans Saints, you have a few guys on the team that are kind of like in win now mode. But for the most part, you still got some players that you need to develop into being what they need to be. And I feel like that'll be the difference when it comes to like Denver. You know what I'm saying? Like Denver, they was kind of like in win now mode. With the Saints, I just think that if you want to add some players onto the team, but I just think that they got some young players that still need to grow. And if you're going to go that route, I'd rather a slow burn, you know what I'm saying, than trying to, you know what I'm saying, jump out in a blaze of glory. Like the Saints have a chance to develop and be a good team for the future if they're patient enough to get themselves a young quarterback and allowing him to develop in their system. Trade Sean Payton to the Texans for that pick. I was thinking about that too, but the question would be, would Sean Payton want to go to the Texans? And in my honest opinion, probably not. Davis Mills is a, decent quarterback, but I don't think he's going to win no MVP no time soon. And even though the Texans have some good pieces, they got Derek Stingley out there who's a shutdown corner. You got Damian Pierce, who's a bright spot in the running game. You still got John Mechie out there. Bless that brother, man. He going through leukemia treatments and stuff like that. Hopefully they'll have him back and he'll be 100%. He's looking real good. I saw him on the sidelines on Thursday night when they played Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. It looked like he in good spirits and good shape. So they got some pieces, and defensively they probably need to kind of fix some things up. But here's the thing, I just think that Sean Payton at this stage, he probably just looking for a guy that's established and a guy that can be a top-notch quarterback. Now, I can kind of see him in Houston. Like Houston is a nice city. You know what I'm saying? Like it's big, it's nice. It got a lot of things going on in there, But to me, I just feel like Sean Payton wants to be out there on the West Coast. I think he wants to be in California. I think he wants to be in Arizona, Las Vegas, somewhere in that area. So those are the teams that I'm looking at. Now I just feel like, to me, I feel like Sean Payton going to Los Angeles is the perfect spot for him. And I feel like it will help all parties. It will help the Saints and it will help the Chargers. Because like I said, you look at the Chargers team, they really don't need players like that. Like for each level that they have, quarterback, running back, receiver, linebacker, defensive end, secondary, they got star players. So they honestly, all they need, they kind of, to me, they almost in a better position than even the Saints. I just feel like it just comes down to coaching, getting these guys in a position to succeed in order for them to win those big games down the stretch. And that's all you need. So if you put Sean Payton on that team, they should be fine. And I just think that if you look at that team will be more willing to give up that first round, that first round draft pick. Now, if you want to go to Houston Texans, yes, the Houston Texans, they got multiple first round picks because of the Deshaun Watson trade. But I just feel like Sean Payton may not want to be in that position where he has to build something up. I think that he will want, and if he has to build it up, he'd rather have a team that has a starting quarterback, a future star, and a guy like Justin Herbert. Got to be insane if you wouldn't. Sean Payton bought a house in Los Angeles. That was mostly because he works out there with Fox. All right. I mean, Fox is based out of Los Angeles when he did, on Fox Sports Sundays, when you have Kurt Menefee and stuff, like they're in Los Angeles. That's what they're based out of. So that's the reason why he bought a house out there. But he has been to his fair share of Chargers games. And, I feel bad for Coach Stanley because imagine, you up here, your team is, struggling a little bit, and then you're looking up in the rafters and in the dark, you see a silhouette of a Sean Payton just looking down on you, hoping that you fail. Because that's what it all comes down to. Like, you don't like the Chargers that much. You know, you always at the game. So, you know, that had to be a weird feeling for him. When Sean Payton picked Ian Book, I knew it was over for the Saints. Man, why Kevin White let that defender take the ball from him on that 50-50 pass at the end of the game? Because he's Kevin White. Like, that's the thing, man. Like, why are we why are we looking for these dudes who have not showed us nothing, like, for the most part? Why are we expecting for these dudes to channel their inner T.O. or their inner Jerry Rice or their inner Randy Moss? Like, they are who they are. Like, Kevin White has had 8 years to try to prove that he's better than what people are saying that he is. He's a bust. You know, he's on a team, good special teams guy, good gunner, good hand clapper, you know, and he has a really good voice, you know what I'm saying? Because every time he get down the field, he clapping, acting like he about to do something, you know, like he about to tackle a dude, like, you know, like, okay, whatever, you know, but at the end of the day, he's Kevin White. And I expect him to do anything. Now, if it's Chris Olave or something like that, okay. But, and that's another thing. Like, man, some of them passes that he was throwing yesterday, I'm talking to Andy Dalton, man, I feel so bad for Chris Olave. And if anybody ever played football and you played the wide receiver position and you seen him sitting down for a few minutes, I'm going to tell you that right now. When somebody hits you really hard and you're on the ground and you're looking at these concussion protocols right now, he was sitting down to make sure that he kind of get his bearings together. So when he get up, he won't be stumbling all over the ground. But I'm pretty sure for a few minutes, like he was probably seeing about 3 of his teammates, and there's only one standing next to him. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why. But, I mean, he was acting like he was getting this man killed. I mean, KZ almost took his head off, and then there was another pass that he caught that was a pretty tough pass to catch. I mean, it was a few passes where guys were wide open. They had their man beat. But then you had Andy Dalton out there, you know, floating the ball up there, making a 50-50 ball. Like, dude, AJ Green ain't coming through that door, bro. Like, you got to put that ball out there. But I don't know, man. That ball was straight up underthrown, you know. I agree with that, Lavelle. And you have to put that ball in front of the guy. You can have the entire first round of picks, but it's that coach ain't worth a damn. It doesn't matter. I agree. That's why you have to look. Yep, man, Yellow be having it, man. Yellow be making some good points, and I like to fire you. You know what I'm saying? I can actually feel the energy, like, from your comments, man, and I appreciate that. But when you look at a team, right, that's one of the main reasons I feel that if you're going to go young, you have to make sure that you have a guy in place that's going to be able to coach that young guy. Like, you look at the New York Football Giants, right? You went out and you got Brian Daboll, who is responsible for the development of a Josh Allen, right? All right. The Giants have issues with Daniel Jones. Now, as you can see, Daniel Jones playing pretty doggone good. When the last time somebody was criticizing Daniel Jones' quarterback play? I ain't here, right? They want to keep this guy around. They want to be able to pay him. They want him to work out and be the future of their franchise. So they brought a guy in that can help him develop. And that's what the New Orleans Saints need. So regardless to the direction that the New Orleans Saints go in, I still just don't feel like Dennis Allen should be a part of the puzzle. Because what the Saints need and what they're asking for, you know, when it comes to the future, I don't think Dennis Allen can give to him. I don't think that he can give it to him. Riddle me this. As soon as the Saints fall behind, there are no more plays for Taysom. How is it they have no clue how to use Hill? Dude is a baller. That's because, look, we got lied to again, right? I mean, the finesse job was in, folks. And I feel so dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever seen Set It Off? And there was that scene with Jada Pickett. You know, I'm trying to make it, you know what I'm saying, too graphic, but some of y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, so there was a scene with Jada Pickett. She wanted to get some money for her brother to go to school or something like that. So she went over to a guy's house. She came back home after she was done. And basically, you know what I'm saying, was like trying to scrub, you know what I'm saying, herself like clean. And every time she scrubbed harder and harder. She just couldn't get herself clean. That's the way I feel. I mean, that's the way I feel as a fan. I feel that way because they basically lied to us. They gave us this whole mapped out plan, especially when it involved Taysom Hill. Oh, Taysom Hill. And you know, the crazy and the dumbest thing about all of this, is when things go wrong, you start thinking about the things that were said to you to try to put your mind at ease. Because I can remember Dennis Allen saying, and I'm quoting, he said, "We felt like it was best to move Taysom to tight end because I feel more, I don't want a player of his caliber sitting on the sidelines next to me and when he can be in the game." Didn't he say that? These are the words of Dennis Allen. He said, "I don't want Taysom Hill, a player of his caliber, standing on the sidelines next to me." And guess what? You turned him into a tight end. I'm putting quotations here. You turned him into a tight end, and the guy barely ever gets any passes thrown to him. I mean, I can only think of maybe a few times where the ball actually came his way for a pass from Andy Dalton to Taysom Hill. He spent most of his time kind of doing the same thing he's been doing for the last 4 to 5 years he's been with the team. So that was a lie. Like, honestly, like there's like, if you start like peeling back some of the things that were said and promised to us, you find out that this whole organization was lying. I don't know if they were just that confident, they were that sure that they were going to get Deshaun Watson, and maybe they didn't think about any other plan or backup plan, but it just seemed like it to me. It seemed like they didn't have any, like, it seemed like to me like they didn't have any other like option outside of this, and then they hurry up and trying to rush it, to try to, do something, right? Your in-laws call, you're like, "Hey man, I'm passing down your street, man. I should be there in a few minutes." What? You know what I'm saying? Your house looking a little dingy, and you hurrying up, you putting clothes under stuff, and you know what I'm saying? You're trying to find a good space on the couch where they can sit at. That's kind of like what it feels like to me. Feel like they didn't have a plan. Maybe they had that plan that involved Deshaun Watson, and maybe even that decision for that first round pick. I don't know if I have to go back. Don't quote me on this. I don't know if that became before or after, or they just did that to try to make the Saints appealing. I don't know. I got to check. If somebody not doing anything, can somebody look at the timeline? Did the Saints end up getting that first round draft pick from Philly during the time that they were trying to acquire Deshaun Watson, or did they get that pick first? Somebody, if you're not doing anything, if not, then, we'll find out next show. But if you're not doing anything, look that up for me and see if that's the case. We need to let go of Winston and Dalton. We can get LSU Daniel in the third round in the NFL draft. As great as Daniels is playing, I mean, he played clutch against Alabama. I ain't gonna lie to you, dude. Look pretty doggone good. I gotta see more. I'm not. Look, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy LSU won the West. I'm happy that the Brian Kelly experience is working out. But I need to see more from the dude. Because as of right now, I mean, I've seen him play. He's a playmaker, but I've seen better college players play better than he does. And I just feel like, simply I would be saying, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea." I'm saying from my end. I'm not disrespecting your idea or anything, but I would just be saying that just simply because you're LSU quarterback or LSU player. Let's see. I seriously believe that the reason they won't even consider Hill at quarterback is because of the contract stating he will make more money if he starts at quarterback. That's a good point. I can't dispute that. But here's the reality. Do you care more about keeping money in your pockets, or do you care about winning? Right? I mean, if you just care, like, if you want to just keep your few nickels in your pocket and don't want to spend it, and there's a guy on the sidelines that's better, like, you might as well just go ahead and sell a team. Because I want the best player on the field. I don't care how much money I'm going to pay, because guess what? I'm going to get a return on my investment. You will never end up shucking out more money to players than you will actually make as a return on the investment. It just won't happen. I mean, if the stadium is packed, if the merchandise is flying off the shelf, and you making a postseason too, I mean, you can probably make back the money that you got, that you gave to Taysom Hill in about 2 to 3 months, if that, probably even earlier than that. So I don't feel like that's a good reason to sit him. I see what I've saw so far. Definitely will not stand behind this man. Anybody still holding our reservations for P. Carmichael and Dennis Allen, you living in the fantasy land. For real. I ain't trying to join you. Okay. The only time I go to fantasy land is when I'm reading my books to Paxton at night. When I'm reading his books, right? Llama Llama Red Pajama, Good Night Gorilla, or, like one of these other books that he likes me to read. What's the other one? Good Night Moon. That's when we go into fantasy land. That's when I spend most of my time there. But outside of that book, I like to live in the real world. And the real world is telling me that this dude ain't the answer. This has been such a disappointing season. Hurts my soul. Man, I felt that one. I felt that comment. Daniels is growing, but needs to grow more. I agree. I still feel like he needs to work on his ball placement in times. His accuracy kind of comes and goes. And I need some consistency from him, man. I mean, he's a playmaker. He's dynamic, but I just need to see more consistency out of him. I'm not saying that he might not end up being a good quarterback in the future. I just think that he leaves a little bit more to be desired. As of right now, I wouldn't mind Brian Kelly being the Saints head coach. We need him at LSU. We need him at LSU. Let's see. Michael Penix would be a good fit for the Saints in the draft coming up. Don't even want to watch the Monday night game because CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to go off and I'm going to be mad. Well, I ain't even watching any Philadelphia Eagles games this season, to be honest. I mean, I watched maybe the game when they played the Texans, like when that game was kind of close and I was kind of wanting to see the outcome. But, yeah, I ain't trying to see that. He caught an interception in that game. Jaden Daniels is not an NFL ready. Let him grow in college. Yeah, he's not ready yet. I mean, like I said, he has good playmaking ability, like scrambling out of the pocket, using his feet. I mean, even in some cases, he can put the ball where it needs to be, but his accuracy comes and it goes. To me, looking at these quarterbacks, and I've had opportunities. I went back and looked at some of these quarterbacks that's coming out. To me, Hendon Hooker is probably the best NFL ready quarterback that they have out there. I'm not saying that he's going to end up working out, but I'm just saying if you're a team and you're looking at a guy play the quarterback position, his decision making for the most part is top notch, right? I mean, you go up against Georgia. I'm sorry, Georgia is a beast. That's a whole different beast there. Georgia gonna make 99% of the college football teams in America look bad, right? No matter who you got out there. But his decision making and his ability not really to force the football, and not to mention his deep ball touches is top notch. He runs when he needs to run. He's patient when he needs to be patient. And man, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he don't end up being the first quarterback off the board. I know some people man, he might be in the second round. I don't think so. TJ read Paxton the book Where the Wild Things Are. You might see DA in the book. Yeah, and I stopped reading for forever and ever. Who cares what he says? He said J-Dub will get his job back, and look who's still starting. Yeah, man, he been lying a lot. He looking bad, man. Man, I was never a fan of the whole continuity and keeping the same culture. It's like cooking gumbo with a different roux. We can tell that it ain't the same. I wish we would have hired Doug Peterson. Yeah, me too. I was a Doug Peterson guy. I really was. Andy Dalton needs to not play another down for the Saints. Done with that man. Why not? I say go ahead and let him play. Look, Drew. He made that decision. He was not transparent with us as fans about the status of Jameis Winston. And for that alone, you need to go ahead and ride with it. And the thing about it is, like Jameis Winston or not, respect Jameis Winston or not. Well, I hope you respect him after this. The fact that dude knew for a fact that he wasn't 100% and heard Dennis Allen go to the media and say that he 100% and I'm still choosing Andy, it just speaks volumes about Jameis Winston as a person. Because he could have easily just came out here and said, been on some old on some Brandon Cooks stuff. I'm tired of people playing with my career type stuff, but he didn't. Right? It wasn't only until towards the this week, and it's been weeks, like since that decision was made, that he came out and he said, what he said to defend himself. So for that, I got respect for him. I said, but at the end of the day, I say roll with Andy Dalton. Like, that was the guy that you decided. So don't hate big head Jameis Winston. Or, if Jameis Winston not healthy enough, let Taysom play. Taysom would have been a backup anyway if Andy Dalton went down, if I'm not mistaken. Jameis has been an emergency quarterback throughout the season. So let Taysom play. LOL, so disappointed me and Dalton have the same birthday. Like, come on, dog. October 29th, shaking my head. That date is for bosses only. Well, at one time, Andy Dalton was pretty good. I don't want to say this man sucked his entire career. I just think that, we are looking at a guy like Tom Brady win games at 45, and now it's like we look at these dudes when they're like 33, 34 years old, and now we looking at them, comparing them to Brady and Breeze. Breeze finished his career at 41. And we're looking at these guys like, oh, man, come on, bro. Come on, man. You can do this. But everybody ain't built like that. So, everybody is not going to reach the tender age of 40 still playing at a high level or giving you constant production. He is who he is. Yesterday was a reminder how 90s to 2005 was for Saints. You ain't lying. We still 57 games under 500 as a franchise. The culture may have changed, but who we are this season is really who we have been historically as a franchise. If you've been following the team, Sharpshank, if you've been following the team as long as I have, and based on these comments, I can tell that you have. You probably seen the ineptitude of the New Orleans Saints throughout the years. I know I have. You got a lot of these Saints fans out here, and like I said, it's not a knock on y'all. Not y'all fault. Y'all was born at the time y'all was born. A lot of them don't know like how snake bitten this franchise was. Like how the feeling that they have right now. Like I'm reading the room, so to speak, and I'm seeing people, man, I don't even care no more. I don't even care. Like that was like the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like in the 90s, like that feeling that some of you have for the first time is like how we used to be every year. Like, man, whatever happened, it is what it is, man. Still who that, man. They'll get them next week, whatever. That's kind of like how our mind frame was. Like some of you, this is just new territory for you all, but not for people like myself who, like I said, been around and been cheering for this team for quite some time. Some of y'all new to the party. Some of us been here. You know what I'm saying? Some of us been at the mansion. You know what I'm saying? You ever seen the episode of Jamie Foxx? I think they went to like the Playboy Mansion or something like that. And Garrett Morris, who played Uncle Junior, he seen a friend of his, and his friend and him like snuck into the mansion like about 30 years ago. And he was like, man, he's like, man, what you doing here? It's like, man, you remember when we came? I never left. That's kind of like how we are. We've been up in this thing. Some of y'all new to the party. Some of us been here for a long time. The fact that we got the same record as the Lions, well, honestly, I can say the Lions play harder than the Saints. Seriously. TJ, the offense being trash is one thing, but somebody please tell me, how is the defense trash? Like we are a defensive coach. So how is your defense playing? That's the thing. Like that should be the ultimate deal breaker for all those people that's lobbying for a DA. I don't even want to call him that. He don't deserve to have initials. Dennis Allen. He doesn't deserve to have. He just like. Let me see what his. Hold on. Wait a minute now. We about to call out his whole name. that's he doesn't deserve. Dennis James Allen. Okay, Dennis James Allen has his defense looking like trash. Dennis James Allen. That was his calling card. That was his calling card. So on that alone, I feel like that's the reason why you should fire Dennis James Allen. Because the side of the ball that got you the job, you can't even keep them boys afloat. So Dennis James Allen needs to go. Me and Caesar Superdome are the same age. I ain't going nowhere. I remember when we used to be able to sit almost anywhere in the Superdome. I remember when people would actually sell their tickets. Man, I remember when people used to give their tickets. I ain't talking about selling them. They used to just give them away and they still couldn't do it. Man, I got 2 tickets to the Saints game, man. You want to go? Nah, I'm good, bro. Man, it's in the Superdome. You ever been? Nah, bro, but I'm good. Don't even want the experience. I've been around since the Bum Phillips days. That was a while ago. That was a long time. And that was during the time where Earl Campbell came here for a cup of coffee. I signed the petition. Sean Payton would have this same roster with a winning record, and they would probably be leading the division right now. You know, I seen an interesting tweet coming from a sportscaster from WDSU. Shouts out to Sharif. He was like, Gail Benson needs to call up Sean Payton and offer him whatever he wants. And you know, the thing about it is, like, I feel like even if she was to do that, I still don't feel like he will come back. I just think that he just wanted to move on. You know, some people are calling him a quitter. Some of them call him a quitter. Some people are just calling him Benedict Arnold or whatever. I don't know. All I know is the only issue that I have with Sean Payton is this. I felt like that was whack, that he was getting call screened by organizations that had interest. And the fact that he was going to go to Miami after sitting through that press conference like that. Like, if the Brian Flores controversy did not happen, Sean Payton would be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And the fact that he would have sat up there and said some of the things that he said on his way out, I didn't like that. You know, I'm all for new challenges and all that kind of stuff there. You know, I'm kind of the same way. I like new challenges. I like to challenge myself. I don't like to be stagnant. I don't like to be complacent. You know, I try to do things differently, you know what I'm saying, to try to, elevate myself. But I just don't think you should do that at the expense of the fans. Like, everybody not going to stay in the same place. You were lucky to stay in the same place as long as you did. A lot of coaches don't get the opportunity, but man, the first line of trouble is like it was out the door. Man, we can't get rid of Dennis James Allen this year. It's year 1 as a head coach, but if they start bad next year, Loom is going to let Dennis James Allen go. Well, nah, bro, we need to let this dude go this year. Like, seriously, like, you need to let him go this year. Like, this is bad stuff right here. Like, I don't know. Look, bro, I don't know. Like, I ain't lived in New Orleans in a long time, but I know my people. That's something that will never, ever change. I don't care if you from New Orleans, I don't care if you move to Houston. I don't care if you move to Colorado. I don't care if you move to South Carolina like myself, Florida, Texas. You know your people. And I'm telling you right now, if they think that people are going to buy tickets, if they think that people are going to sit in that Superdome, if they think that people are going to continue to buy merchandise for this team, if they continue to allow this dude to come out here and parade around as the head coach of the team, they are sadly mistaken. See, I don't know. Gail Benson, wasn't really running the day-to-day operations like this, because Tom Benson was alive during the time when the Saints weren't very good. But I'm telling you, you showed this fan base prosperity. You showed this fan base who had histories of being terrible, a terrible franchise. You showed them the promised land, and you showed them that it was attainable. And I'm telling you right now, nobody is going to subject themselves to this. Nobody's going to do it. You're going to see drops in jersey sales. You're going to see drops in ticket sales. When it comes to training camp, you might have a few people that's out there, but ain't nobody going to be out there, out there risking the hot sun and possibly passing out and, and all this kind of stuff to try to see a glimpse of this team with this dude on the sidelines. It's just not happening. It is not happening. If you think that it's going to happen, they are sadly mistaken. Congratulate me, TJ. I made 200 subscribers on my channel. Jerry, man, congratulations to you, man. 200 subscribers. Shouts out to you, man. Shouts out to Jerry. Jerry is a devoted Saints fan. Got love for everybody that ever, talks about this team. He supports them. And Jerry has been a supporter of this podcast since I started, man. Like, Jerry was like one of the 4 or 5 people that actually subscribed to the channel when I first got it, a couple of years ago when I first started it. So congratulations to him. Acknowledge him. State of the Saints. Acknowledge him. All right, so let's see. Dennis James Allen has lost so much respect for me that I'm sure most of the Who Dat Nation, I don't want him back as defensive coordinator. He's not coming back as defensive coordinator. It's not going to happen. So Who Dat Nation, get ready. This is about to get ugly. That's why I say we need to send him where we want to send him. Maybe this is all planned so Gail will have to sell the team and move him out of New. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. Tom Benson already put that in his will. You know what I'm saying? To keep the Saints where they are, and they can't sell the Saints. She can't sell the Saints. You know what I'm saying? Like, he put it in his will before he died. Certain things, that he wanted to, keep in place, and the Saints are one of them. So if you're concerned about the Saints moving somewhere else, nah, I wouldn't worry about that. Y'all telling me he's still our head coach. I don't know why. I expected breaking news today. It's not happening, man. They're not gonna fire this dude in the middle of the season. They'll wait to the end of the season. He's already trying to get Taysom Hill. Congrats, Jerry. Say, what's your channel? Congratulations, Jerry. Joe Law, Gail Benson cares. Who wants to own a losing NFL franchise? She wants to win. I agree with that. Like I said, man, I want to give them the opportunity. Like, this is uncharted territory for a lot of people. This is uncharted territory for a lot of people, including her. Man. Like, we ain't never had these issues before like this. It's been almost 20 years since the Saints had issues at coach. I mean, the 2012 season, everybody knew that Sean Payton was coming back the following season after suspension. Like, this is uncharted territory for the New Orleans Saints. And you expecting for the Saints to operate like how other teams operate when they haven't been in the position that they've been in, like other organizations. So I don't, Hey, TJ, do you watch other Saints talking heads like Locked On Saints? Yeah, I watch them. I support those brothers, man. Shouts out to Ross Jackson. Shouts out to Deuce Winham. Shouts out to Big Q. Shouts out to CB. Shouts out to Aaron. Hell, man. Shouts out to Last Saint. You know what I'm saying? Like, shouts out to all these guys out here that's doing podcasts. I check out everybody. Do I watch religiously? Like, no, I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do it in support, of course. Feel like I'm missing some names. I apologize for that, man. They got so many other ones out there. Black and Gold Breakdown podcast. I mean, you got so many out here, man. Saints Happy Hour, Saints Twitter podcast. I mean, you got so many podcasters out here, man, that's doing an amazing job. And like I said, I apologize. I didn't mention, other podcasts. If I missed one. I feel like I'm missing one. I apologize. If I'm missing one, somebody put one in the chat so I can, Hoodie Jube, you know what I'm saying? How can I forget Hoodie Jube, The Boot, Tragedies. So there's another one. There's another one that I'm missing too. There's another one I'm missing. And I feel horrible. I feel horrible about it. Under the Dome podcast, that's not the one I'm talking about, but shouts out to him. New Orleans Football, of course, with Nick Underhill. Like I said, Hoodie Jube, of course. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot. There's a lot. So, man, shouts out to all of them. Shouts out to all of them. Other than that, just pray we are making great decisions in the draft. And no, we do not need a first-round pick to do that again. First-round picks are hits or miss and mostly misses. I agree. It's not the end of the world. I guess what they're saying is, having a pick that early in the draft, you got a better chance of getting a sure thing versus, maybe later on missing. AFR, yeah, Matt Moscona. Shouts out to my guy Matt. Trying to get Matt on the show, man. I hit him up and he couldn't do it because I think the last time I talked to him, it was during the time with LSU Alabama week, and that was like his busiest time. And of course, I probably try to get him on probably after the SEC championship game because I know he probably going to be busy going forward, dealing with LSU and also dealing with the Saints. So only podcast I'm on is this one right now. The other kind of run narratives and don't keep it neutral. Here, at least I know that there aren't going to be no sugarcoating and trying to save face. Well, I appreciate that. Like I said, I mean, shouts out to everybody that do, podcasts. There's so many podcasts out here, man. And you got to kind of find your lane and kind of find something that works for you. Me personally, I mean, I don't know, man. I ain't got nothing to lose. Like me, God, I feel like God blessed me with talents and ability. And whatever he have for me is gonna happen. It's gonna be for me. So I don't worry about, I gotta play nice and all that kind of stuff there. I mean, I ain't sitting up here trying to bash nobody, but at the same time, I'm not gonna sit up here and lie to anybody either. I was having a conversation with somebody, and they felt that some of my thoughts were, unfair when it comes to a certain player. I apologize, but at the same time, I'm like, I ain't caping for nobody. Like, I don't care how great they is. Like, y'all know me. If you've been riding for a long time, like when this show first started, people used to criticize me because I would talk about Drew Brees having a bad performance. Like, people would get on me about that, and I didn't care. I mean, if it's worth talking about, I'm going to talk about it. Man, still some games left. So, TJ, if it continues like this, I'm going to need more T'Challa impersonation. I would make sure that I give you more T'Challa impersonations. I'll make sure I do that. Rare Media YouTube channel and the Saint Soul, Soul Saint and Mike Teasy. That's not even who I'm talking about, man. Shouts out to Soul Saint. I checked them out too, but that wasn't who I was talking about. I feel awful because, man, they come on here all the time, man. They come on here all the time and they show a lot of love. And I want to make sure, please let somebody know what those guys' names are, so I can give them a shout out. Every year, the Saints only have 5 or 6 draft picks. New England has 12 or 13. We don't know how to trade down and acquire picks. They got to get better. I think Moscona tries to keep it neutral, but I agree SOTS keeps it real. I can't say that about Matt. Man, Matt to me is the best. I'll tell y'all that all the time. Matt Moscona to me is the best. Matt Moscona is the best storyteller that I've ever seen, come out of Saints media. Serious. The biggest rock star is T-Bob Abel. T-Bob is a rock star. If 3-4 years from now, T-Bob is on the same lane as Pat McAfee, it would not surprise me. T-Bob is a rock star. But the best storyteller is Matt Moscona. The most informative to me is probably Ross. Ross is probably, man, how can you not like Ross? Ross is the nicest human being on the planet. So, I mean, everybody got their own, their own different thing. Deuce Wenham, I respect his confidence. He's confident in himself. I like his confidence. He knows what he's talking about, and he doesn't mind letting you know that. Everybody has their lane, man. I check out everybody, man, because I mean, it's all respect at the end of the day. Man, I mean, words can't describe Big Q as a human being. That, I love Big Q, man. Big Q, after shows and stuff, me and Big Q, I'll never forget this. The last time I did a show with Big Q, we talked 30, 45 minutes just about life and boxing and all that kind of stuff. what you see from Big Q, like on camera, is like how he is behind the screen. My favorite person to interview, without a shadow of a doubt, is Mike Detillier. You know, Mike Detillier he's the same behind the camera and in front of the camera as well. Ross Jackson is the man, love his channel. Yeah, Ross is like, if you don't like Ross, like something is like you just a hater. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't like Ross Jackson. Saints Happy Hour, I connect with them on Twitch. I originally on YouTube. Yeah, man. Shouts out to Andrew. Man. Shouts out to them, man. They do a good job as well. And Ralph. They got some opinions, but they're good guys. The Saints team even had Ross speaking in a harsh tone today. Wild time. I think Ross, like I checked that out today. I was actually on my, man, it's like almost like 45 minutes to an hour commute we're towards the end of the show, folks. So, anything goes. I was on my way to work. It's like 45 minutes to an hour commute from my house. And I was checking out Ross. And I think Ross take was, for people that felt like this team wasn't playing hard. And I can understand that from his perspective. I mean, he's there, he's watching the team, he's seeing what they're doing, and I can understand why he's trying to defend them. But at the same time, I mean, a lot of things that he said was true. He talked about he felt like they needed to change at quarterback, and how they possibly can need a change at the coaching position. So I don't, I agree with what he was saying. I miss the late great Buddy D. He was the best. I think the greatest compliment anybody ever gave me was somebody said that I was, their Buddy D. I don't think that, but I think that's the greatest compliment I ever gotten because I loved Buddy D so much. But Buddy Delaverto was one of the main reasons why I did this. Jim Henderson is the main reason because, of course, Saints games were blacked out during the time when I was a kid, and that's the only way you can check them out. So that kind of stuff influenced me to actually take the career path I'm in right now. I'm a radio personality out here now because of the influences of a guy like Buddy D, late great Frank Davis, Jim Henderson, guys like that. So, man, you get compared to a guy like Buddy D. I mean, that's probably the greatest honor that you can get as a radio personality covering the Saints. Don't get no better than Buddy D. The one thing that I hate is Buddy D never seen the Saints win a Super Bowl. He died a couple of years before they actually won one. That's a good impersonation. Jeff Nowak and Steve Geller on WWL Sports YouTube channel. Yeah, man, I like Jeff doing sports, but Jeff, I don't know what Jeff is really into. I don't know if he's into pop culture or something like that. But if he ever was to get into something like that, he'll be hilarious. He wants, you can tell you can see his personality shining through through the podcast. But I feel like if it's really something else, I think you haven't even scratched the surface of what his real true personality is shining through. I think you get a glimpse of it, but if he was talking about something else that had his interest, I think that'd probably be one of the most entertaining podcasts ever. Man, I've been a Saints fan since the Chuck Muncie, Wes Chandler days. Ooh, wait, never thought I would have those feelings again. We're hard to watch, but I still find myself wearing black and gold on game day. I mean, of course, that ain't changing nothing. I don't care if the Saints go 0-17. I'm still gonna rock with the Saints. I mean, look, these woeful times aren't deal breakers. I hope they're not. They're not for me. Let's see. Next year the Saints need to trade for a player that won't, and I don't want to hear anything because there was about to move hell and high water for Deshaun Watson. So that proves you could. Yeah, I agree, man. You got to make this team better, and you got to get faster on defense. The Saints are the stationary quarterback when it comes to defense right now. You got to get some guys with speed, man. You look at a guy like TJ Watt, coming around that corner. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He ain't 280 pounds or nothing like that. You need some of these smaller guys that can move. TJ, did you shout out NOLA Bros? No, I didn't. Shouts out to NOLA Bros. Keeping It Real podcast, Dolph 17, Nick Underhill. Yeah, Nick Underhill. Yeah, he does a really good job as well. I mean, Nick the best. We already know he the plug. You know, he's the guy that you go to for all the information. And he does a good job, man. And Mike Triplett, I think him coming on to New Orleans style football just took that to like a whole different level. Because, I mean, look, Mike Triplett has been within the Saints organization as a ESPN writer for years. Like, I can remember Mike Triplett, like, when I was in college, you know, like freshman, sophomore year, like him working with the team. So I think just all of that capital that has built up, I mean, you can call a guy like Sean Payton, you can call like some of these guys on the team, and you develop the level of trust over the years by keeping the information sacred, and those guys trust you. So when you call on them, you know, they're going to answer. And I think for that alone, it's just going to take that podcast and what they're doing to the next level. What up, y'all? You're the modern day Buddy D. Well, I appreciate that. Like, I'm serious, man. Like, that's probably one of the greatest compliments anybody can give me, because, man, words can't describe how much I respect that man. Sucks that no amount of support, faith, or loyalty will get through Dennis James Hallis' mental thick skull. I love the show, TJ. Been watching you. I don't know how long I've been watching you, but I have been watching you. At one time, it was the newspaper and you. Well, I appreciate that. I thank you for that. You know, I love doing this show. I love doing it because I'm talking about my hometown team. And at the same time, I get to hang out and talk to some really good people and also get different perspectives. You know, and the one thing I do love about this show is that everybody is different, you know. And, you know, I value everybody's opinion. Now, sometimes, you know, I will debate those opinions, but it's more so like, well, I'm telling you why, you know, I feel the way that I do. About 20 years for Mike Triplett. Yeah, he's been there for a long time, man. SOTS, why is Caden Ellis getting more reps on defense than Zach Bourne? I think you know the answer to that, Paul. I think anybody is still waiting for Zach Bourne to do anything besides run down the field on special teams, wasting your time. If we really offered an arm and a leg for Watson while also playing ourselves as desperate simps, we should offer 2 arms, a leg, and a family box of Popeyes for Lamar. Lamar isn't going anywhere, Eugene, because they're going to franchise tag him. So he won't be able to listen to negotiations. The fact that Mike Triplett got that Jameis interview and was able to publish it made me pay for the subscription on New Orleans football. Well, Jason, you know, they do a good job, man, and I think you should support them. I mean, they give you all this great information for free. So if they got something that they can, you know, give you that they, you know, that you have to buy, I feel like it's worth it. Like, how many times have Nick Underhill came through or Mike Triplett has come through with the info? I'll tell y'all, interesting, like the first person I ever interviewed here on the State of the Saints podcast was Mike Triplett. That's the first person I ever interviewed, you know, ever on this podcast. And he didn't have to do it, you know, and I'm appreciative for him doing it. That's 100% TJ. The defense has to get faster. The defense right now is built from pocket quarterbacks. We have to change with the league. The mobile quarterbacks are the new NFL. I agree. And speed rushers are the new NFL as well. Other than that, Deuce podcast is pretty dang good. Yeah, Deuce Wenham is really good, man. And if you want to understand X's and O's better and make it simplistic for you, for those that may not really know what they're watching, he does a really good job as well. And also, he's really informative too, man. Haven't been on Big Q for a little, but that's a personal thing. Is what it is. But I hope he's doing his thing. Look, man, Big Q is really good, man. And I ain't got nothing but positive things to say about him. TJ, what do you think about the Saints starting Taysom Hill and completely changing the playbook to RPO just to see? And look, whatever works. Like, at this point, whatever works. You know, whatever works. I don't care. If you feel like you're gonna work, then do it. Oh, I know the Ravens would tag Lamar, but a man can dream. Yeah, I mean, if they didn't, I agree. You should try to move heaven and earth. Let's see. I want Tyler Huntley. He's a free agent, restricted free agent. But yeah, you can still give him an offer. And if you're going to pay Lamar, more than likely, you're not going to worry about a team trying to offer up for Tyler Huntley, especially if he gets the opportunity to be a starter. Why would you do that to a guy? Hey, TJ, through 10 games, I think this is probably almost the worst Saints team in history just because of this talented roster, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't feel like look, man, the worst when it comes to expectations. I don't even want to say that. I think that team where they had like, Champ Bailey was on here, and they had like all this other talent. They signed Jarvis Bird, and everybody just thought like the Saints were going to be a Super Bowl contender, and they didn't end up doing anything at all. And Jarvis Bird ended up stealing money for about 3 to 4 years with the New Orleans Saints. And see, you heard Jackson's podcast on how one of the players was spitting up blood before he went to the podium to talk. Yeah, he talked about that, but he didn't specify who it was. Yeah. Our defense is older, and we have horrible contracts with players, and it has a cap situation all messed up. It might be a few years to get back. That's why you got to draft, Joe. That's why you got to draft, my friend. That's why you got to get those draft picks, and you got to make sure Jeff Island is burning that midnight oil and be able to strike oil like Jed Clampett did with these draft picks and like he did in 2017. But thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate your time. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. The only thing I ask you to do is hit the like button. Okay. If you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the content, please hit the like button. And also I will ask if you subscribe if you have not. Okay. If you always watch the show, you always check it out. Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications. Cause I know some people are like, man, TJ, I didn't get the notification. Make sure you hit that bell for notifications so you can know anytime I go live. I'm not one of those podcasts that be like, tune in at 7:00. No, that's not me. Okay. I mostly move based on my son's schedule, my wife's schedule. If I'm inspired to do it, you know what I'm saying? So, make sure that you hit that bell for notifications. Previous episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Check out Facebook.com, search The State of the Saints Podcast. And if you want to chat it up with yours truly, you can go to Twitter and follow me at TJAY Jones 8. All right, TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?